the Madman!
Welcome to another week of Top Custom Cards of the Week. This is a cool week because this is the first week in which Custom Hearthstone came up with cards for the Forged in the Barrens expansion. So I can't wait to see these cards. But before we do so, let's take a look at this cute little doggo. It's Valeera. 2 mana 1/2 rogue legendary, start of game. If your deck has at least 10 combo cards, replace your hero power with Fetch. Fetch is a 1 mana hero power that adds a 1/2 dagger to your hand. Basically the same as your hero power, just instead of paying 2 mana, you pay 1 mana, you get in the Wicked Knife in your hand, and then you can play another mana to put it out. Design 5 stars. Balance 4 stars. I have a big track record for really docking start of game effects because, you know, start of game effects always happen in games, so if they're too powerful, then they just warp the meta. But this is actually decent design. The start of game requirement isn't too difficult. At least I actually don't know how difficult it is, what with the core set rotating, and also the designers didn't know how difficult it was. But if you do put combo cards into your deck, you get a very minor benefit, which is instead of 2 mana to equip the weapon, it's still 2 mana to equip the weapon, but you can play the Wicked Knife as a combo piece. You can also hoard a bunch of Wicked Knives in your hand, if that might be relevant for like whenever you play card effects. The one thing I would change about this is the 2 mana 1/2 stat line I don't believe is necessary. In fact, it's a little too punishing to draw this. Almost thought about docking a point off of design, just because having a start a game card be that bad is probably bad. You don't want to be punished too hard for drawing it. So I'd make it a 1 mana 1/2 because that keeps it in the theme of being good with your combo cards. Alright, now let's take a look at these Barrens concept cards from custom creators, and I feel like I need to emphasize that because we can't have people thinking these might actually be real Forged in the Barrens cards. So first up, there's Vengeful Soldier. 4 mana 7/6 warrior card with Frenzy, attack your hero. Now let me remind you what Frenzy does. Design 5 stars, balance 5 stars. I think the balance comparison point would be Pit Lord, which is a 4 mana 5/6 which always deals you 5 damage, and that card was proven to be too weak. This isn't warrior. Warrior is better equipped to dealing with damage. That is a very aggressively statted minion. Pretty decent option for aggressive decks. I almost docked a point off the design because I thought it might be too powerful and thought it maybe should be a 6/6, because leading with aggression into the big Vengeful Soldier with 6 health, that might be too backbreaking with 7 attack, maybe make it 6. But it's an interesting take on the Frenzy concept. Frenzy doesn't always have to be a positive. Chieftain Vol'jin, Priest Legendary, 5 mana 3/2 with Rush. Whenever this attacks a minion, swap stats with a targeted minion. Design 5 stars. Balance 2 stars. This card does throw back to old Vol'jin. I do like remixes, but this version does it too well. It's just always going to kill a big card and then still have a big attack and low health afterwards. Just 3 attack is too little to kill whatever stuff you're going into, perhaps. And also a 3/2 stat line seems odd for Vol'jin. So I was thinking, perhaps you make this card, and it is already not great against aggro, but I think you can make it worse against aggro as well. What if you made it a 2/6? Then you would not necessarily kill the thing you attacked into unless it had 6 or more attack. I think that makes it a lot more interesting. Maka! 3 mana 2/5. You don't draw cards. Whenever you would draw a card, instead restore 5 health to your hero. Design 2 stars, balance 4 stars. My main problem with Maka comes from the fact that if this is randomly created on the board, that could be really bad for the player who got it. It is such a severe negative if you don't exactly plan on when you're playing Maka. Having your entire game plan ruined by a random 3-drop, that's too much. So it's actually a little bit unfortunate. I do like the idea of the card, but the fact that you can just randomly get it That's probably really bad for the game. On top of that, I think Maka plus Treachery from Warlock is actually overpowered. That could lock your opponent down in Wild. Blade Swarm is a really interesting warrior spell. 4 mana, give all minions Frenzy, deal 1 damage to all minions. Design 5 stars, balance 3 stars. I think this is a really creative board clear. This spell basically makes it so that all minions on the board have, whenever this takes damage and survives, deal 1 damage to all minions. Maximum usage once. That's how Frenzy works in this case. So any minion which isn't 1 health would therefore trigger this deal 1 damage to all minions, enabling a potential 14 damage to all minions with 14 minions on the board. Obviously that doesn't happen a lot, and you'd probably be playing this in a control deck. So realistically, it's like 4 mana, deal 4 damage to all minions, but you also need to combine it with another card. It doesn't work by itself. So given that its high end is dealing 4 damage to all minions, realistically, I think this can be reduced to 2 mana. It's not really Defile or Bladestorm level, because Defile or Bladestorm are 1 card solutions, whereas Blade Swarm always has to be combined with another card in some way to actually get everything to work. Newborn Nestling. It's a cool basic take on Frenzy. 3 mana 1/3 beast. Frenzy, summon a 5/5 Devilsaur. If you hurt the Newborn Nestling, that Devilsaur is going to come and eat you. Design 5 stars, balance 4 stars. I think it's a nice showcase of Frenzy in a simple way, where you play understated guy, you try to deal some amount of damage to it, and then you summon a card that's good for the stats alongside it. Given that the card already costs 3 mana, and about the best you can do with it is to use another card in order to get the 5/5 value, it's totally fair. In fact, it's a little bit weak. I'd make the Newborn Nestling either a 1/4 or a 2/3. Then, if you have a Mage Hero Power with it, that's 5 mana, summon a 2/2 and a 5/5, which is like, sure, whatever. Collapsing Void. Warlock 1 mana spell. Destroy all minions with more health than your hero. I love the card so much. Design 4 stars. Balance 1 star. There's a small problem with the card. That is that it is absolutely useless. What are the chances that, a spell that can only work when you're about to lose the game works? And that is a really cool idea, to have spells that only go off when you are at a very low amount of health. But this is just so extreme. Minions don't often have that much health, so you'd have to be at such a small amount of health to actually play this card. And to put a card in your deck that requires you to be at 1 to 5 health to actually use in the common cases is not very good. It's actually very hard to come up with a balance point for this, I think. If you can think of any grand ideas, let me know. Nightmare Goat. Warlock 3 mana 3/3, rush, death rattle. If it's your turn, destroy a mana crystal to resummon this. That's actually really creative. Design 5 stars, balance 3 stars. If you're at 10 mana, you could theoretically play this and resummon it 10 more times, allowing you to deal 33 damage split into sets of 3. Of course, it would set you back to 0 mana, which is a fairly significant downside. The card is really creative, and I would love to see something like this, but that death rattle is so harsh that I can't see any deck really looking for such a immense comeback card, but such a huge drawback. Balance wise, I do believe it could be a 3 mana 4/3. And yes, you can just play it and not do anything with it, and then your opponent eventually maybe has to kill it, but to not ever be able to trade with a card if you want to save the mana is a pretty significant downside. Kraziki! A priest 5 mana 3/7 legendary. With your spells cost 0 while your hand is full. Design 2 stars, balance 5 stars? But doesn't actually really matter. I believe Kael'thas really demonstrated a design warning for the game, which is to say, Making spells cost 0 is pretty dangerous, even if they have a pretty specific requirement, even if the card itself, Kel'Thas or Kraziki, costs quite a lot of mana to begin with. Which is to say, if it can be broken, it will be broken, and if it will be broken, it's often quite bad for the game. Kraziki is in one of those spots where it's either absolutely worthless, or it'll break the game apart. The condition is so challenging. You can't even play Kraziki and then just play a spell, even with the prerequisite of having a full hand. You have to not only have basically a full hand, you have to play Kraziki and then play a card that generates you at least 2 cards, and then you can play your big spell for 0. Some potential with Lyra, you can potentially cast infinite spells, also kind of questionable in terms of viability. I don't really think that this can be broken, but in that case it's just useless. So that's a bad place for a card to be, where the way to abuse it is obvious, but it seems really hard to abuse. But if it could actually be viable, then that would be terrible for the game. So I think they probably learned that lesson from Kel'Thas. And finally, what is the fancy trump card of the week this week? Mountain Lion. Druid 1 mana 1/2 beast with choose 1, gain +1 health, or gain +1 attack. Design 5 stars, balance 5 stars. I'm crying, it's beautiful. Both a 1 mana 1/3 or a 1 mana 2/2 beast for Druid. That seems like a completely fair start. This could have been the core set 1-drop, and it would be a new card. It would show off the Druid's ability to choose 1. It's a nice simple 1-drop. My only change on this card is I would advise that it be a common card instead of a rare. Soon, the Forge and the Barrens card reveals will be upon us, and I look forward to revealing real Blizzard cards, but I will see what I can do about fitting in a custom Hearthstone during the reveal season as well, to compare the actual Blizzard cards from Forge and the Barrens with custom Hearthstone designs.